So it turns out democracy isn't just a dilemma here in the Western Hemisphere that we know of. It's also happening all around the world. Because in Romania, according to the BBC, Romanian far right presidential hopeful barred from poll return. Or sorry, poll rerun. Um Now, because this is the BBC, because it's a mainstream outlet, I'm gonna assume that the far right rhetoric that they're using in this headline is kind of the blanketed term, just like they use for far left, far right. I don't subscribe to those. I'm done with using the terminology of far right and far left. Really, it just doesn't matter at this point. Um, it really just comes down to, are you an oligarch authoritarian and a follower of that, or are you for the people and populism and a follower of that? What side are you on? Are you for the, protections and civil liberties and freedoms of individuals? Are you more for the oligarchy to preside over you and reign terror against you? That's how I feel it at. That's nothing to do with far right or left. So Romanian far right populists, Calin Georgescu, has been barred from participating in May's presidential election rerun by the county's Central Electoral Bureau, triggering clashes between his supporters and police. Later year, Romania's constitutional court annulled November's first round of the vote, in which he came first after intelligence revealed Russia had been involved in 800 TikTok accounts backing him. So they call him a far right populist, and they just accused him of Russiagate. Oh boy, here we go again. How long are they going to milk this conspiracy until until they realize that people know how stupid this is? They did this with Donald Trump. They did this with Bolsonaro in Brazil. They try to do this with everybody, and it's turned out short. People are aware how much of a muck up this is. They know that the Russiagate scandal was all coercion by the deep state to overthrow their opposition. They know that's a made up scandal. It's a conspiracy done by the deep state to manipulate democracies. 800 TikTok accounts that they don't have any real connection towards Russia. They just accuse of being Russian. The BEC rejected his candidacy on Sunday, saying it doesn't meet the conditions of it doesn't meet the conditions of legality, as he violated the very obligation to defend democracy. So they're cutting him out of democracy because he wouldn't defend democracy. George called the decision a direct blow to democracy. He has 24 hours from Sunday's verdict to submit an official appeal to the top court, which he issued a ruling within 72 hours. In a social media post, George called the ban a direct blow to the heart of democracy worldwide. Tear gas was fired at supporters of the presidential hopeful as violence broke out between them and police while they gathered in their thousands outside of the offices of the BEC in the capital of Bucharest. The BBC saw at least one car turn over and the windows of neighbors' barred smashes. At least 4 people were detained. While many protesters left the scene, several hundred people remained and continued to fight with riot police, who brought in reinforcements and attempted to cordon off the area. On February 26, George was arrested on his way to register as a candidate in the summer election, prompting tens of thousands of Romanians to march in Bucharest streets in protests. He was charged with attempting to overthrow constitutional order and membership of a neo-fascist organization. He has denied all wrongdoing. So again, just like they did with Trump, just like they did with Bolsonaro, just like they're trying to do with all the other oppositions, they try to pin them up as being part of Russian propaganda, They oust them for interfering in the electoral process, not defending democracy. And just like they did with Trump with the insurrection, with pointing him towards the Boogaloo Boys and Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, they're trying to connect him to neo-fascism. Whereas neo-fascism are the people that are trying to oust this guy. The real fascists are the ones that are trying to cancel democracy because this guy got elected by the people and they want him out because he doesn't align with the overlords, with the globalist overlords. The 62-year-old independent came from nowhere to win the first round of last year's election, the results of which annulled just days before the second round of voting. One key to his sudden popularity was his promise to restore Romania's dignity and to end subservience to the international organizations it belongs to, including NATO and the EU. Well, now you know the rest of the story. So, of course, if he's promising to cut out NATO, which is a blackmailing military-industrial complex organization, and the EU, which is a conglomeracy of globalist bankers that are trying to tirade against said nations. He's trying to do his own little Brexit here. That's why they came up with the conspiracies. That's why they're trying to oust him. Because a guy like him, a popular guy like him, is going to threaten the neoliberal dominance over the country of Romania. So they want to oust him out. They want to axe him out in the hopes to protect democracy. And accuse him of being threatening. Accuse him of siding with neo-fascism. Assign him with not protecting democracy. As they're trying to overthrow this guy. Before last year's annulment, the pro-Russian politician told the BBC he would end all support for Ukraine if he was elected. There's another point of why they're trying to overthrow this guy. George Q has also seen support from the Trump administration. Last month, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance accused Romania of annulling the elections based on the flimsy suspicions of Romanian intelligence and pressure from its neighbors. Meanwhile, Romanian Foreign Minister Emil Punduresnu accused Elon Musk of a form of interference in Romania's elections after the billionaire posted several messages of support for George Q. Messages. As opposed to what other billionaires are capable of when it comes to buying out elections. And I'm not defending Elon Musk in this whatsoever, but there's a huge difference between posting messages on social media and deliberately doing a coup and paying for demonstrators to overthrow the government. Which is what places like George Soros and Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and other big, huge conglomerates, Klaus Schwab, have all partaked in. So, here is Mario Nafal stating Romanian riot police beat citizens as deep state crushes protests. After banning elected president George Q and ruling he can never run again, authorities are now using brutal force to silence dissent. So this is all to protect democracy. And funny how this never gets attention. In the media right now, especially our media. But they'll still continue to say Russia is a traitor, that Vladimir Putin is a terrorist. They'll still say that Trump is awful, that Elon Musk is threatening democracy and the sovereignty of the United States as this is going on. So, take a look at this. Look at all the cops there. And they're just waiting. They're waiting. They're hoping that it gets violent. They hope that it gets angry. Because they're the ones that cause the violence. They're the ones that are disrupting the peaceful protests. Why? So it's discrediting. And when they capture it on their news media there, they can then point the fingers and say these people are violent, that all the George Scoop supporters are a bunch of violent extremists, just like they did with the insurrection, just like they did with the Freedom Convoy, just like they do with every political protest. Because these people, the people that truly run the world and run these countries, do not support democracy. They despise democracy. And just like they did with the United States, with Donald Trump and the Fedsurrection, trying to invent an event to storm into the Capitol and blame it on Trump, it turns out it blows back in their face. Because now we know that it was completely set up, that there was federal agents posing as civilians deliberately to pose an insurrection attack. We know that Nancy Pelosi and her daughter are involved in it. And we know that they're trying to carbon copy everything they accused Trump of doing. They're doing the same with Bolsonaro. And now they're doing the same with this guy in Romania. Why? Because they all despise democracy, especially democracy that works in favor of the people and not the powerful. If it pokes at the eye of the powerful, that's when hell breaks loose. That's when they start deploying the cops to crack the heads of the voters. Because nothing says like a healthy democracy like beating up potential voters. Nothing says like a healthy democracy like going after your own people that could potentially vote for you. So goes on, Marian Nafal goes on to say, deep state rigs Romania's election. George Scoop ban can never run again. The Central Electoral Bureau has officially rejected Calin Georgescu candidacy, citing old rulings from the Constitutional Court to justify banning him forever. Just like they did with Trump. They're trying to ban him and use an amendment of the Constitution saying that, because this president was involved in the insurrection of the Capitol, that he is no longer allowed to partake in democracy. They were trying to pin that towards Trump, and it failed, and it blew back right in their faces. So their excuse in Romania, a vague claim that he failed to defend democracy. The entire election was canceled, and authorities ruled that George Scoop can never legally run for president again. This decision is illegitimate. The Electoral Bureau has no legal authority to take such action, but the deep state is pushing ahead, silencing opposition, and ensuring total control. Romania is the experiment. If this power grab succeeds, more nations will fall. Well, sadly, more nations are falling. It's already happening. That our experiments of taking down democracies, this one world, new world order, it's already happening. That's why we got people like Mark Carney, who is now being selected as the interim prime minister. That's why we get people like Joe Biden, who was the most unpopular during the primary, but somehow managed to become the president. That's how you get people in the UK and Germany that want to silence and censor out people to the point of arresting them for Facebook posts. So it's already happening. Romania is just another asset to the neoliberal establishment because they don't view countries. They view us as just different populations. We're a bunch of lab rats to them that they can use and abuse us over and over and over again. So there's the official paperwork there from the Central Electoral Office from the election of the president of Romania in 2025. And there it all states there. that they canceled this guy. That now he can't legally run for president of the country ever again. Even though he is the most favorable, even if he got democratically elected, even as the people adored him. Because the ruling establishment came up with a scheme to cancel out democracy, cancel out the opposition. Why? Because he was threatening to cut Romania off from NATO, from the EU. He was planning to do a Brexit. He was very, very much populist. He was very much on the side of protecting Romanian interests and doing Romania first, just like they did with Trump, just like they're trying to do with Pierre Poilievre. They want to silence out the opposition. So this is from the Daily Romania. Breaking, tear gas is being used against Romanians demanding justice after Georgiu's candidacy for the presidential elections got rejected. Children among the crowd. People have started blocking the streets of the capital demanding justice. So, again, to save democracy, you have to overthrow a person who got democratically elected and then scold the voters. That's what the ruling class wants to envision. That the perfect democracy is not to have democracy. The perfect democracy is have someone pre-selected by them, force them down your throats, and tell you just to deal with it. Which is not democracy. That's fascism. That's oligarchy. That's almost a totalitarian dictatorship. So, here's what went down.
Dați de-astea, vă rog eu frumos, mai mari ca să ne urcăm repede în clasamentele astea, vă rog eu mult de tot. În momentul de față, în Europa, noi suntem numărul 1. Bun. Și am încheiat toată discuția. Și trebuie să fim...
And cops were lining up, preparing to throw tear gas at them. Because they voted someone that they liked his policies. And, like I said, anything that pokes the eye of the powerful and sides of the people, that's what they despise the most. And that's why they tried to do every single unjust lawfare against this guy so he can never run again. Because they'd rather have someone who serves the globalistic neoliberal agenda who will siphon more of Romania, just like they do with other countries, than actually serve the needs of the people within those countries. They don't view countries as countries. Like the movie Network from 1976. The world is not countries. It's a bunch of companies and the international flow of dollars. That's what it is. And they want to keep that gravy train running, meaning that they want Romania to bend the knee further to NATO. They want to continue on the slush fund war machine of Ukraine. They want to continue on serving the EU. They don't want Brexit. They don't want Romania to be independent and make its own decisions. That's why they took down this guy. And the people are protesting. And they get the cops to crack the heads of those protesters. Because that's how you protect democracy. That's how you protect democracy in this day and age. You beat up the potential voters. Especially the ones that voted in someone who is primarily favorable among that nation.